guys, it's Jen. This is another Jen is Zen episode of Reframing Me, and I am your host, Dr. Jennifer Brubaker. In these short bits, I give you something to meditate on or journal about. Today, I'd like you to think about this. Invisible does not mean nothing. So last night, I was lying in bed and I was absolutely beating myself up. And I'm sure that you know that voice, the one that's like, you wasted a whole day. You didn't get anything accomplished. I was spiraling. I was frustrated. I was disappointed. I was honestly even embarrassed with myself because I had such high hopes for the day. I was going to make the Jenna Zen episode. I was going to make the main episode. I was going to work on some content for socials. I have this wonderful new assistant helping me do my socials. Her name is Leah, and she is amazing and she is so enthusiastic. And for the first time, I feel like I am enthusiastic again about socials. So I really wanted to get this stuff done. And I'm like, what did I do today? But then I'm like, wait, what did I actually do today? And for the very first time ever, I started making a list. I finished up an article and I sent it out for review at Politico that hopefully they will publish it. I got my hair done, which, yes, is self-care, but it's also marketing because I brought my hairdresser a copy of my books so that she could keep them at her station. And I know that her clients are going to read them and love them and want to go out and purchase them. So it was business. I also helped my husband with a huge logistical business mess that has taken like a million phone calls. And I have learned more about the logistics of transporting freight from the port in Charleston to Wilmington than I ever even imagined. I mean, y'all, I know what demurrage is. I know what that is now. And no, it is not demurrage like it sounds when I say it in my head, but it's actually, no, it's a hold that they place on your freight when, like my husband did, you incorrectly remembered the final date that they would hold it without charge, because then it goes to demurrage. And not only do you have fees to pay, but you have like 4 million hoops to jump through in order to ever get it out. I have made friends at the port. I mean, I am now Instagram friends with Leon from the port. And I've made a wonderful new friend in Kenny, our freight driver. And if nothing else, you know what? I have reminded myself that there are good people still out there. And it has just reiterated to me that anytime that I can be a good person to someone else, I want to be their Kenny or their Leon. I also spent like 90 minutes easily on the phone with the orthopedic about Bawa's injury. And Bawas are one of my international student soccer players who lives with us sometimes and I help take care of. But Bawa's injured and I've been trying to schedule him for another treatment so he can avoid wasting his entire soccer season simply because stupid insurance, not the doctor, the insurance. The insurance says he needs to wait. The doctor says he should have it. The insurance says he should wait. But alas, Jackie in billing, she is helping me to self-pay. And so because I would rather pay $736 than see him miss out on this opportunity that he has worked so very hard for. And I am not going to let $700 stand in the way of that. I just can't. But here I am 5, 6, 7 phone calls later, I am, a good 2 hours probably total later of phone calls. And the next day, and I still feel like I'm standing here waving cash in hand saying, please take my money, somebody schedule him an appointment to treat him. But again, good people. There are good people. Jackie has good people, and she is helping me to get the doctor to work him into the schedule. And to all of my international listeners, this is why you should appreciate not being part of the American healthcare system. It is a total shit show. Anyway, I also came up with the idea for our main episode, albeit I didn't actually record it, but I did get some video. I recorded some video that I needed. So there's something. I worked out. I drove Ever, my daughter, where she needed to go and picked her up. I cooked dinner. I cleaned the house and did the laundry for the cleaning lady to come because unlike my husband, how he thinks it's completely ridiculous, I'm sure many of y'all understand that I absolutely 100% have to clean for the cleaning lady. Yes, she's cleaning the house. However, she can't also clean up all of our junk. That is not her job. But I cleaned for the cleaning lady. And I know I'm forgetting things. Oh, that's right. The illuminating company. I have been handling my dad's properties for him since his stroke. And I had four calls, 2 times that I called them and then 2 times that they called me back with the illuminating company. And one of them it actually successfully involved adding my dad to the call with the person in order to switch one of the apartment's power to his main account to turn it back on so that the maintenance man, who was also a couple of interactions, could get in there. So yeah, I totally did things. And yet, because I didn't have a tangible post or an episode or any type of product to show for things, I told myself I had wasted a day. Why do we do that? Why do we erase our own accomplishments just because they don't look shiny or measurable? We equate productivity with visibility. And if it is not something that we can point to and say, see, I made this today, then we tell ourselves that it doesn't count. But you know what? That's not true. The invisible work is often the most important work. It's like the scaffolding. It's the foundation, the relationships, the logistics, the background tasks that make the visible possible. And without the things that are unseen, then the things that are seen, they don't even exist. I mean, think about it. Okay, a book. You don't just write a book. It doesn't just appear one day that you sit down and write the final draft. It happens because of all of the time spent note taking and the conversations that spark ideas, the hours of research and the writing drafts and the editing and the writing again and the editing, all of that nobody sees. We all know that parenting, it's not just about like the perfect Instagram worthy vacation photo that you take. It's about the thousands and thousands of rides and meals and pep talks that build the trust from your child behind the smile that you see. The writer Marcus Aurelius said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." And what that means is also that what we do invisibly still echoes. The invisible work is the echo. It carries forward into what then becomes the visible later on. And just because no one claps for it in the moment, and honestly, no one even notices it or acknowledges it or appreciates it, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. And this, this hits me hard because I always feel like if I don't have something to show for it, and maybe it's because, my husband's out there doing much more tangible work. And here I am doing things that are much less tangible. And I know I am not the only one. I know a lot of other women and moms, they feel the same. And so we hear it and talk about it, and sociologists call it invisible labor. We've talked about here as being the default parent. It's the mental load, the emotional support, the coordination, remembering, anticipating, smoothing over, picking up the slack. It's the 20-minute phone call that you make to find out why something wasn't paid. It's the 60 minutes that you sit on hold at a doctor's office. It's the birthday presents that you remember to buy, the groceries that you remember what people like, what people need. You remember to get them, and then you remember to plan around them. It's the cleaning that you do before the cleaning lady arrives. Or if, bless you, you clean your own house, then it is the cleaning that you do before you clean the house. It's the stuff that's rarely noticed. It's rarely praised. But the entire system, it collapses without it there. And yet, because it's invisible, we even learn to dismiss it in ourselves. We think, I didn't produce anything today. But in truth, we produce stability. We produce connection. We produce the conditions that allow everyone else in the family and ourselves to be able to even function. So I didn't do anything. That is a total lie. The truth is, I did everything. I showed up in like 10 different roles. I moved projects forward. I supported the people I love. I tended to my body and my home and my family and my relationships and business. That counts. That matters. That is accomplishment. But we tend to only validate outcomes that meet external gratifications, the visible stuff, the content, the publications, the paychecks, but intrapersonal gratifications, those clarity, connections, and presence, that type of thing, they are just as valuable, even if they don't show up in a tangible way. In family comm theory, we talk about role negotiation. Well, this is it. And women especially, we carry invisible labor as part of our role in the family system. That caregiving, that emotional support, all of the planning and all of the logistics. And because we've been conditioned for generations to devalue that type of work, we just go ahead and we dismiss it in ourselves. And so as I lay there last night, I realized that I actually have spent the day building. No, I wasn't publishing. No, I wasn't producing, but I was building. And that's what life actually looks like most of the time. We don't always get the visible wins. We don't always have the Instagram post or the podcast episode to show. But without the invisible work, the visible, it would never happen. It's like if we were standing out there trying to admire the front of a beautiful house without even acknowledging the foundation. No, the foundation, it is not pretty, but without it, the house doesn't stand. So if instead you only counted what was invisible, all of the conversations and the planning and the errands and the care, how would we rewrite the definition of a productive day? We can think about like the last time that you had a family dinner. Who thought about what time everyone needed to be there? Who bought the groceries? Who set the table? Who cleaned up? Chances are it was not everyone equally. And yet, without that invisible labor, the dinner, it doesn't even happen. A vacation or at work. Who sets up the meeting room? Who takes the notes? Who does the quiet, thankful follow-up that makes sure that any projects keep moving? None of those things make the headlines, but they make the work possible. At the movie, we may see the movie star and we may give them a lot of credit. But do we sit there and look at all of those names in those credits? We don't, or they wouldn't have to bribe us to even stay with the little scene after the credits. because those are the people that do the thankless, unnoted, invisible work that makes the movie star able to happen. Part of the reason that we feel invisible labor doesn't count is because it doesn't show. It doesn't have that product at the end. And in our culture, we have tied value to output. We have tied value to tangibility, to things you can measure, or even more importantly, things that we can monetize. But life is bigger than that. Relationships are bigger than that. And the work of being human, it doesn't always have a receipt. So next time, instead of us asking, what did I produce? Maybe instead we should say, where did I show up? We can think of those invisible wins, the phone calls we made, the lists that we made, the care that we gave, the load that we carried when no one saw. Maybe we need to say them out loud, claim them because they count. This is intrapersonal communication. It is that self-talk that shapes our experiences. And if your script is, well, I didn't do anything today, then that is the story that you live inside. But if you rewrite it to, I built, I carried, I showed up in invisible ways, then you can live inside a story of value and of accomplishment. And you can show up differently the next day. So the next time that you hear that voice saying, I didn't do anything today, stop and make that list, not just of the visible, but of the invisible, because you need to count it all. You'll probably find that you didn't waste a day. You lived one, you built one, you cared for one, and that is more than enough. Invisible does not mean nothing, because invisible labor is what makes the visible possible. And you, in all of those ways that you show up, both seen and unseen, you are more than enough. Thank you so much for being here today and always. If you have enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends because that is how we will grow our community. And a big thank you to Kenny, my driver, and Leon at the Charleston port, and Jackie at the orthopedic office in Billing and Izzy, my favorite barista at Starbucks, because he did note yesterday that I was in not once, but twice. And one of those conversations somehow brought up the podcast and he looked it up and now he is a listener and, dare I say, a fan. I'm a fan of his work, so hopefully he's a fan of mine as well. Thank you. If you aren't following my socials, please do. It's Reframing Me everywhere, especially, thank you to Leah for making me enthusiastic again. So now that Leah is in charge, please make sure that you're following. Please make sure that you're liking and commenting and reposting and engaging, because those are all things that will make our podcast grow. And until next time, be well and communicate.